Welcome to Character Highlights. My name is Max Numbers. Today we're going to be taking a look at Aramintha. I'm going to take a look at her kit, we're going to tell you about her, and I'm going to give my insight on how you can use her. If you like this and you want to see more stuff like it, go ahead, comment in the section below what characters you'd like to see in the future, and we can make it happen. So let's take a look at Aramintha. Aramintha is a fire mage who burns her enemies to cinders and ignites passion in her allies. For her skill 3, attacks all enemies with an 80% chance to burn for 2 turns and increases her combat readiness by 50%. So that basically means she's going to AoE attack and she's almost going to be having a turn again. She has half a turn. Her skill 2 is going to attack buff her entire team, goes down to a 3-turn cooldown, and if they're already burned, it'll make them unhealable and do damage. Her skill 1 has a 35% chance to burn for 2 turns, and it decreases the cooldown of her skill 3 by 1 turn. For skill ups on Aramintha, I recommend scaling up her skill 2 first until you get -1 turn cooldown, and then I recommend scaling up the skill 3 until you have 100% effect chance on that burn. And then after that, I'd max out the skill 1. Because surprisingly enough, it actually does a ridiculous amount of damage. Now let's get into taking a look at Aramintha's strengths and weaknesses. So for Aramintha's strengths, she really enables other attackers with her 2-turn attack buff on a 3-turn cooldown. She arguably has the second highest DPS in the game due to her burns and the cooldown reduction on her skill 3 with her skill 1. Also, side note, burns have a 2x multiplier whereas bleeds have a 1.5, though both are subject to defense mitigation. So for Aramintha's weaknesses, she's a really squishy attacker, and without good effectiveness or versus enemies with immunity, she's really weak due to being unable to land burns. Burns are a really big part of her damage, and not being able to land those really hurts her. Ideally on Aramintha, you'd want to run an attack effectiveness set, and this is because you want to be able to make sure that you land those burns in that anti-heal, because burns are really where her damage lives. And if you can't land those burns, like I said earlier, then you're not going to be able to take advantage of her damage to its fullest potential. Also, for your percent slots on the right side of your gear, you're going to want to make sure you get a crit, attack, effectiveness, or speed in that slot. For some artifacts that you can use on Aramintha, I'd recommend Etiquette Scepter. It's going to give you a chance to decrease your cooldown at the start of your turn, which synergizes really well with her skill 1. Time Matter, which reduces your cooldown by 1 when you get a kill, also increases the damage of your next attack. Between the two of these 5-star artifacts, I think this is the better of them for her. Some 4-star ones that you could use are Caladra, which is going to synergize really well with the fact that she applies a lot of debuffs, gives you extra damage on debuffs. You could also use, this is going to sound a bit weird, but Aelia Violin. I think for certain floors in the Abyss, this is going to allow you to fill that slot of a Dispeller or Debuffer if you don't currently have one on your team. And if you're doing PvP, I think the go-to option for you is going to be Sirarin, which has a high chance of inflicting a random debuff on an enemy when you attack. Now, if you don't have any of those 4 or 5-star artifacts, some artifacts that you could go for, this one is specifically for Wyverns, is Curse Compass. It'll give you a bit of effectiveness at the start of the turn to make sure you land those debuffs. Another that you could go is Mighty Yaksha, really solid for any attacker, gives you attack and defense when HP is above 50%. Another one that I'd recommend is Daydream Joker. Again, this gives you that extra bit of percent health damage that'll help you nuke down those bosses. Some characters that really go well with Aramintha are generically any character that does damage based on the number of debuffs on the enemy. So that's it for this video. If you like this, please like and subscribe. If you want to see more characters, like I said at the start of the video, make sure you go down to that comment section and comment what characters you want to see next, and we'll see if we can make that happen.